Hello there, and hello to some of my LinkedIn fans who are here supporting us. I see you, Jeremy. I see you, Chuck. I'm Rebecca from Orange Marketing. I may have a black box on the screen that is Luke, which is what I'm seeing right now. And we can hear Luke. So Luke, say hi.
Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can see me.
Okay, you're a little soft right now. So that's that. So we're trying to find out if oh, good. They can see Luke. It's just a me thing. So anyways, thank you so much. Of course, we had a power outage here, rolling blackouts in Southern California because the heat. So anyways, that's what's going on today. I'm really glad you can see Luke. And Luke is, I'm Rebecca. I'm the CEO of Orange Marketing, which is a HubSpot Diamond partner, but I am not the show today. Luke is the show. He is the deliverability director for ZeroBounce. He knows all things about email. He's worked in the industry for over 20 years, or at least 20 years. And he just knows so many fun facts. So what we're going to do, and Luke, thank you for coming. And he and I have worked on several projects together, and he just does amazing things on email deliverability. So I thought it'd be fun to just do a full-on Ask Me Anything. The one trick to all of this is there are no slides. So there will be no slides, and you're going to hear truth bombs every 4 minutes. Also, so what we're going to do is we're going to download the transcript and make an FAQ and get it out to you guys as soon as we can, because frankly, it's good content for us and it's great content for you. And second of all, if you have any email question whatsoever, drop it in the Q&A. This is your chance to speak to an expert on the subject, any weird thing you've ever seen. So Luke, if it's okay with you, we're going to get started.
That sounds great. Thanks everybody for joining me today. And you can all hear me good, right?
You sound good now. Okay. So here's our first truth bomb. This is why I'm personally very obsessed with email. Well, I have been. I begged a CEO a long, long time ago to add email to our company because I was tired of FedExing financial statements. So I've been a big fan of email almost my whole career. So the big thing with us is Orange Marketing had the shock of AI and losing our organic channel. And while we were scrambling on AEO, we pivoted back to our one true love, which is email. And I became obsessed with personally learning everything I could about email. It was during this time we became a partner with ZeroBounce. I met Luke and had the opportunity to work on a couple of projects with him. So that kind of is the journey here. We think email is your one guaranteed owned media that you can control, and you have got to nurture it with everything you've got. And it's getting complicated. So here's the framework for the whole presentation or talk or session. How do you know you have an email health problem? We're going to do that. How do you fix a problem if you have one? And how do you prevent email health problems? I have reams of questions for Luke that he and I brainstormed, but we're going to cut it at around the 30-minute mark if we start seeing you guys come in with questions. Otherwise, we'll just keep going because I have so many good and weird questions that we reviewed in prep for this. So let's get started real quick. And I've got Amanda out there in the studio. This is Contrast webinar product. We love it. And Amanda's going to run a poll for us. Yay. Let's see if it comes up on the screen. And let's see. So please answer our poll, those of you present. Here we go. Nice. Oh, this is fun. I love it.
We're getting some good response here.
Yeah, we are getting great response. So Luke, what do you think about this? And Amanda, I think we can close the poll. We're seeing a nice little breakout, practically in a weird way, third, a third, a third, but we've got some good 40% there. So Amanda, can you display the poll back so Luke can comment on it or no? Yay. Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, you got to think on your feet, Luke.
I'm too and glad that there's no what's the difference. So everyone does know what the spam folder and the difference between the inbox is. great to see so many of you checking every campaign. Sometimes I also see people do that. Not everyone can check every campaign. It depends on how you check. For those of you that have no idea, here's some ways that you could find out. So
okay. So we're
ZeroBounce.
going to start. So Amanda, you can take the poll down. And this is where we officially, and I'll get out of this presentation. Look at me use this software so elegantly. So we're starting right now with how do you know if your emails are going to spam?
So there's a few ways you can check. One is to gather a few test addresses of your own, send a campaign to it, and see where it lands. Did it go to the primary tab? Did it go to promo? Did it land in the spam folder? The next way is, and this is probably an easier, better way, is to use an inbox placement tool like the one from ZeroBounce or any of the other ones out there. There's quite a few of them. But what you do here is you mail a seed list. This way there's a bunch of addresses at each ISP, and then it will tell you like, hey, there's some email going to spam and some is landing in the inbox. I find that it usually really isn't all or nothing.
Right.
It will be a percentage. And if that percentage where at a provider that's important or a big chunk of your list is starting to look like it's, 20, 30% going to spam, that's usually when it becomes worth it to start investing in tools and getting people to help you to fix that. As I said, you can use your own addresses. You'll need to gather a few. You don't want to base things on just
from Yahoo. Is that what you're meaning? Gather a few?
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of the nice things about our services and some of the other paid services is, of course, we also cover things like Workspace or the paid versions of Outlook where you have to have an account and you have to pay them in order to have the mailbox. So this allows you to check all of those. Us and others also have pretty good international coverage for wherever you are in the world. This way you can check it all out.
So I'm going to interrupt just for a second. So getting ready for this webinar, I felt we didn't have enough signups. So I decided to do a Hail Mary email send. And I used ZeroBounces to just double check that my emails weren't going to spam. And I got some weird messages about why my email might be sent to spam. And I think I'm so smart. And it was weird hidden characters in my email signature from HubSpot. And I was shocked. So anyways, it is a neat tool, and this isn't a commercial for ZeroBounce, but it is definitely the tool we use and what we recommend. And it's the only way you really know what's happening. So that is, there's also free tools that'll let you do like one test. And then there's other paid tools, but there are tools that will answer this question. If you're suspicious, you're thinking, oh, I'm not getting enough leads. I'm not getting enough opens. If you're suspicious, there are tools that will tell you definitively.
Jeremy. Another way that you can also get a clue, like, oh, wait a minute, something's going on. Maybe I should run the test, right? For those of you, especially that said, when I see something wrong, if you're seeing sudden changes in, open rates, or if you're on HubSpot, it will show you the open rate with bots. The most common bot opening the emails is Apple MPP, right? Now, when an email at an Apple device lands in the spam folder, that doesn't fire. So what you should really see if you're tracking that, for example, in the tiny type in HubSpot in your campaign report, is you should see that number be pretty consistent. It might change a little bit, like a few percentage points up or down, depending on, I changed my targeting slightly, or it was just whatever, an off day. But at the end, what you should see is that should be consistent. If that suddenly drops, then a good portion of that, or at least a portion of that campaign, gets junked. So that following those open rates, especially the bot influence version of it, is a good way to tell, like, hey, wait a minute, there's a problem. I need to go figure out where it is with an inbox placement test and then take some corrective actions.
So I need to stop watching chat now. So you guys stop it. But anyways, now I forgot. Oh, So Luke and I worked on a project, and for any of you out there who implement HubSpot or have been through a HubSpot implementation, we were working on a project together recently, a really interesting one. And the customer was telling us about their 50% open rates, and they went into HubSpot and they were much lower. And so if Luke hadn't been involved, and this is, we get ZeroBounce involved when it's a really big email transition, because normally we're B2B and it's easy. It's 10,000 emails or something. I wouldn't have realized, and he went and did the research and realized their other software they were coming from was giving them open rates, including bots. And HubSpot, when you switch providers, ESPs, email service providers, your open rates go down, but it was really dramatic. And so he figured it out. And I'm like, those dirty rats. So I thought that was really interesting, Luke.
Yes. A number of the providers have now started to do that, and have made adjustments over, like Apple MPP came out in 2021. So like they've had 5 years to adjust it. But the big marker is if you're sending campaigns and you see open rates that are on broadcast style campaigns above 50%, like I've seen 90+%, where it said literally almost every single person opened it. That particular mailer was mailing to college students who tend to all own an iPhone. So like they get the thing on their iPhone, the thing fires and says they open. His system wasn't able to tell you the difference. And so really his open rate became more of an inbox placement test using his whole list. Unfortunately, what it doesn't tell me is who actually opened.
No.
And there's always been problems with the open rate. Years ago, back in 2010, I worked with something called the SAME project, where we attempted to produce standards for the common email metrics and have an industry standard that was adopted by the ESPs. They all used to calculate these differently. The vast majority of the industry did basically adopt that format. However, with the increase of bots, Apple MPP, all these things that are now firing tracking pixels and things, you're getting a lot more noise than you did a few years ago in the signal. But one minor is that the ISPs themselves, like Google, or if you're in Outlook.com or any of them, they look at the actions you take in their interface. They don't use a tracking pixel to measure opens. So how they look at what's going on and who's opening it is different than how most marketers can see what's going on and who's opening it, because we're not privy to that information.
Okay. So I feel we have covered, Luke. How do you know if you're going into spam? Do you feel so?
Sure.
Because we can move on to our next problem, our next thing.
Get through a few.
Yeah. And we have questions coming in, and I'm not ignoring you guys. I'm going to do all of them except for just, chit chat from Jeremy. But we're going to do all of those questions. They're all really good, because I actually had a interesting problem with one of your questions in there when I was testing my spam. Let's talk about fixing, how do you fix a problem if you have one? So for example, if you discover that this is an ongoing problem, let's talk about that. And then we'll talk about all the things that trigger spam and volume and pacing, like all of the health things you should do. And that's the more interesting discussion. But let's just go over what we do if we feel like, and we've had this happen. Luke and I have worked with one customer where we referred ZeroBounce, where they knew they were dead in the water and they didn't know why. So what in the world do you do if you figure out, wow, I've got a real problem here?
So one of the first things I start to do is take a look at spam complaints. Spam complaints are the biggest, perhaps the strongest negative signal that your email can receive, right? And the problem with the way spam complaints are reported in most systems is that they report them at the campaign level. However, the providers only know I received, say, 100 emails from you and one was marked as spam, therefore your rate is 1%, right? Whereas the campaign went to 10,000 people and one was marked as spam. So when you read that metric, it looks like I'm at under a at 0.01%, if I did that right in my head. So like it looks very different. So the point is that you should be looking at the metrics by the individual ISP to determine where the problems are. And some of them you'll need to sign up for things like Google Postmaster Tools,
Yes.
Yahoo Sender Hub. Those both work by domain. Anyone can sign up for free.
Yes.
And they'll tell you like how many complaints you're getting, and you can sign up for the feedback loop and you can get a report about it. You know, so you know who to suppress. Your ESP should be getting those, but it's good for you to know, is there certain types of content? Is there certain groups of people or audience sources that result in higher spam rates? So squashing those is your first step. And then after you get that kind of stuff fixed, then it's like, are we sending to too many inactives? Do we have some spam traps hiding out in our list? We want to clean up and perform list hygiene.
Yes. So that's list hygiene. Just a quick, commercial break. There are many products where you can cleanse your list. So that's the first thing we do as a HubSpot partner when we get a new customer. We first talk about email cleansing their list. We use ZeroBounce, of course. And what Luke's talking about, how do you know that there are people who routinely click spam? ZeroBounce will tell you. They've got so much data across so many places that they can tell you what people routinely click spam, and we can pull them out from the get-go, and then they find everything else. So Luke, that's one of the things that's like day one. And then we talked about, Luke and I have talked about, I'm like, well, should we re-cleanse, or is just sending to the list good enough? And he's like, you should re-cleanse maybe every 3 months, right, Luke?
Yes, especially for B2B audiences. I mean, you all hear the news about the constant, there's another tech layoff, there's another big thing. People are churning jobs much more often like this past year or two than normal, right? Like it's been a tough time out there, and I feel for people. As a result, their business email addresses are going bad. So yeah, we found in our email list decay report, which you can find on our website in the resources area, that about 28% of people's addresses go bad. So that's somewhere between 1 out of 3 and 1 out of 4 addresses. I find for the B2C audiences, it's usually closer to the 1 out of 4. And for B2B audiences, like most of you, it's normally the 1 out of 3. So you can revalidate and check them again, especially if you haven't been mailing them consistently. That's usually when the problems start up. Like, oh, we have a big push. We're going to dig a little deeper to the list. We haven't mailed these people. If they would have been getting mailed all along and they bounced, the ESP, like HubSpot or whoever, would have taken them out of the list for you already, right? But it's when we go out to older people, it's like, oh, well, we haven't checked these in a while. Maybe we should check them.
Okay.
And then, of course, once you get all that stuff together, then it's time to use something like a warm-up style send, you were doing a migration, to send to your most engaged people, send positive signals for like a week or two to the ESP to lift your domain reputation up so that you can break the junk folder jail cycle, right? What happens with these people is they start sending older inactives to the junk folder. Those people, of course, don't respond to the email. They go, look, engagement has gone down. Let's put more in the junk folder. And it becomes this spiral, like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So what you have to do to break that is you got to stop. You have to reduce the volume to like really kind of tiny amounts per provider, get them to accept the mail to the inbox, and then step your way back up by doing, consistent increases in volume over time. It usually takes, anywhere from 3 to 5 weeks, depending on like the size.
Yeah. And then we've done this and read a lot about what Luke's written on ZeroBounce and watched Luke do it. And when we say email warm up, you're starting with really tiny volumes, like 100 a day. And you only send, on the days you would normally send to, and you sort your email list by highly engaged to least engaged. And Luke does other technical sorts I can't do, but that's what we do when we have smaller lists. And you gradually increase it. You watch it like a hawk. And that's how you do it. And that's how you move. If you happen to be a HubSpot partner, that's how you move somebody from Clavia to HubSpot, and you have to do this. You cannot just open the gates and go send 40,000 emails, because you're instantly screwed, absolutely screwed. And then you have to hire people like Luke to fix it.
Yeah. A big marker for the
Yes.
ISPs and the mailbox providers out there is sudden changes at high volume. To them, they suddenly see all this email coming from a domain or an IP that they don't know, and that's not normal for you. So that sets off red flags. They think maybe somebody's spoofing you. Maybe you're under a bot attack and someone's relaying spam through your system. So to protect them and you, they
Shut you down.
junk everything and shut you down.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just an honest mistake. You know, anyone that's worked in email for a while has made a mistake.
We've all
I
done
accidentally
it.
sent the
We've
full list
all-
instead of the target segment by mistake, and my volume jumped.
Yeah.
When it's a one-off thing like that, you usually can recover within 2 or 3 campaigns. But if it like jumps and then stays there, that's a lot of red flags to them. So they really like consistency. And when should you do these kind of things? Whenever you're launching a new subdomain. If you have a new IP and it doesn't have the automated IP warm-up.
Yes.
It's not only when you migrate from one platform to another. There's
Good
lots
point.
of times where using a warm-up makes sense. And for many senders, this is really the main lever they have to pull to adjust domain reputation. There isn't much else they can do, right? Like, it's all about the engagement. People, after you fix any technical things, it's really the subscriber engagement and behavior that drives everything. So that's opens and that's complaints.
Yeah, we haven't talked at length because it's just boring and hard. But one of the first things Luke recommends and what we do together is you have to check all of the setup, the DKIM records, all the domain records to make sure they're set up properly. HubSpot will give you a screen that says, yay, everything's good. But sometimes it's not as clear in other email service providers. So that's like item 1. You have to check that right away. Everybody should go check that. That is the first thing you check, right, Luke?
Yes, because if you're not authenticating your email with SPF, the 3 that they require is SPF and DKIM, which are the authentication protocols, and then DMARC is what provides the reporting on whether the stuff actually passed or failed.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I want to point out to people is it's very possible for you to do a lookup for an SPF record, for example, or a DKIM record, and it comes back as the record is valid.
Good. So that's like a free MX Toolbox type of thing. Yeah. Luke, are you talking and I can't hear you? No. Okay. For my chatters out there, can you hear Luke? Am I still here? Oh, darn it. Oh, darn it. Okay, we're having storms, all kinds of things are happening. So Luke, if you can still hear me, log out and log in. So we're going to have Luke go away and come back, and I'm going to keep going. So believe it or not, I'm going to keep going. So here's what we're going to do now. What we're going to do is we're not going to have Luke on here, and he's wonderful and that sucks, but we're still going to keep going. Okay, good. He left and hopefully he'll come back. So the couple of the questions I'm going to go through a little bit because some of them I know. So there's one from John. How many emails can I send a day without getting shut down? 100, 200, 1,000. So that almost sounds like a sales rep doing prospecting. So if you're a sales rep doing prospecting and you're sending out email using sequences or Apollo sequences, you got to stay below your threshold. Gmail, like say you're on Gmail, you've got to stay below 500. But if you're talking about marketing email, there are no rules. The trick is in email, you can make no sudden moves, meaning if you've been sending 1,000 emails a week and one day you send 10,000, it is actually a bad sign. So the best thing you can do in email, and this is a frequent problem we see when we go into customers where we're doing audits, is they're super inconsistent. One month they'll send 10,000 emails. One month they'll not send email at all. One month they'll send 500. That inconsistency is a bad sign out there on the internet and really will cause you to get in email jail. And people don't know that. So we recommend, and Luke, my recommendations come from Luke. We've worked with them closely for all this year, is that you send twice a month. And the reason is the rule is really once a month. But we say twice a month. So if anything happens, you'll at least send once a month. We say, even though email's yucky in December, do not skip December. So the best thing you can do as a marketer is be consistent volume, and consistent cadence. And the other thing is, as Luke said, if you change anything, so there's a reason you might go to a subdomain for your email sending. If you go to a subdomain, like our subdomain is hello@go.orangemarketing.com. So when we did that, we had to do a warm up on that subdomain because it's shocking to the internet. It just came out of nowhere, a new email address, and they just panic and clutch their pearls and don't send your email. So that is pretty tragic. So how am I doing? So that's John's question. Let's see here. There was another good question. Do certain terms such as limited time off or free discount affect spam if it sounds like an actual scammer? So of course that's true. And we all have ChatGPT. We all have Claude. You can start talking to them about your subject lines. They'll be looking at different tools. There are subject line tools like at subjectline.com. When I told you guys I was working on a Hail Mary email because I wasn't happy with our signups for this morning. I got flagged. I used the ZeroBounce tool and it said my subject line sounded scammy because I said sign up today. So I'm like, oh, come on. So I changed my subject line to not be so urgent because it's not that it sounds scammy to the people receiving it. It sounds scammy to the ISPs. And it's kind of like writing for the robots. You kind of got to think about them as robots too, and AI too, which they are, and be careful with all of that stuff. So free, discount, all of it's considered triggering words. You got to be really careful. Let's see, another question in there. As a sender email address, does having a term like marketing or other terms in your domain increase your chances of landing in spam? Guess what? Yes. So Luke would give you a wishy-washy answer and he would go, well, marketing might be okay, but no reply is definitely not okay. Don't use no reply. Don't let your IT people tell you to use no reply. It is not okay. And so we definitely recommend if they're just picking an email address for marketing, that they don't use the word marketing. So we'll use hello. Sometimes they'll use one related to their product, kind of like if they're selling security, they'll say security at securitycompany.com, something like that. Something that doesn't trigger spam. So it actually, oh, Luke, are you back? Can I hear you? I cannot hear him. Okay, I'm going to go down to the bottom of the comments. Does anyone hear Luke? Luke, are you talking? Okay, we don't hear Luke. So I'm going to just keep going, and it sucks. And this is life on a webinar. So he's really the star, but luckily I've absorbed a lot of knowledge. So I'm going to check your questions, and then I'm going to go back to our own questions. Oh gosh, Ashley, here's a sad story. I had a client that moved 200,000 contacts from MailChimp to HubSpot and didn't do a warm up, just sent to everyone. I came in after it happened and had to do a long rewarm process. So good for Ashley for even knowing what was wrong. I almost want to send a bulletin to the HubSpot reps and say, guys, please, when you're selling a lot of marketing contacts, could you do us all a favor and warn these people? because they think it's all merry, happy morning. They're on HubSpot and they just send it out and it blows up everything. So it's just, it happens all the time. I do a LinkedIn post about it about every 3 months. It's awful. So anyways, there's that. And I'm going to check the questions and then go back to ours. There's an interesting thing from Anne Marie. I oversaw marketing automation for an MBA team for 10 years. We learned it was necessary to warm up our list after each off season, because off seasons, they'd start not sending emails. So interesting. Here's one, and this is where we need Luke. So I'm going to make him give me the answer to the question. Do you monitor the number of emails you send to per company domain? For example, would it be a red flag to send marketing plus sales emails to more than 10 people in the organization? I don't know. Maybe. So I'll tell you this. In large organizations, when you're dealing with pharma, Walmart, Target, they're called messaging in IT. And if you're marketing, you've always bumped into messaging people. They live to prevent your email from reaching people. And they have amazing tools that monitor email and can stop certain behaviors. They do not want any of their executives to get junk email. It is really awful. So I would like him to answer that. Honestly, we haven't done a lot of marketing to these really super big companies. I've never monitored it, but I want his answer. And I'm afraid of what he's going to say because there's so much stuff to watch. The other thing that's really interesting, we learned with our last engagement with Luke that I'll share with you guys. The last engagement with Luke was a company that had a high portion of .gov emails, military emails, all kinds of stuff. And so what we learned then is those guys don't even send links, and that if you send to a lot of military, and Luke, we can't hear you. I am so sorry. And
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
You can't believe how great I've been. I've been doing such a good job.
I'm going to turn off video. I kicked everyone else off.
Yeah, the whole house is like, get off the internet. Okay, I want you to answer this question. Do you monitor the number of emails you send to per company domain? For example, would it be a red flag to send marketing and sales emails, I assume at the same time, to more than 10 people in an organization like a Walmart or a Target or whatever? Who did that?
Not if they signed up for them. If they opted in, I would send it to any number of them. And one of the things you can do is, if you do like check your list with ZeroBounce, we have something called SMTP provider field, which will tell you like, hey, Walmart actually uses Microsoft, or these guys use Google Workspace. If you don't have it, you can do an MX lookup and see like who responds with, hey, this is who handles the mail. If they have some type of like email security filter, it will say something like that. Like if it says ppe-hosted.com, that will mean that they're on Proofpoint. Our thing will actually tell you like the name, like Microsoft, Proofpoint, Barracuda, etc. But if there's someone specific, you could just do a specific domain that you're worried about. You could do a quick MX lookup and see who is processing their mail, and that's who, it'll say who it is, or validate, and that will be in there.
Good. So I think one of our moderators was helping me, but I can put your chat questions up on the screen. So that's really cool. I want to do the second poll for Amanda, who's one of the moderators out there, because I want to talk about this topic. I learned a lot from Luke about this topic. So can we do the second poll? There we go. When's the last time you cleaned out unengaged contacts? In the last 30 days, the last 6 months, over a year ago, or you've never done it? And then I'm going to have Luke talk about this subject. And by the way, while you're answering, Luke and I are committed to stay through the full hour. We know we market this as 30 minutes, but we leave 30 minutes for your Q&A. We're going to stay here through the last question and maybe even do some of my prepared questions because the content is so good and we want you to get the handout. So you'll get the handout afterwards. Okay, let's just leave the poll on the screen. And Luke, let's talk about this subject and some of the input we just got from people.
Okay, so for those of you who marked, I've never done it.
You're in trouble.
Today's the day to try it. If it's been more than a year since you looked up cleaning up your list, then yes, you should be doing it. Really, list hygiene and cleaning out unengaged contacts should be something that goes on pretty much like all the time, right? When you see people lapsing and becoming unengaged, you want to reach out to them with a re-engagement and see if you can get them back into the more active segment, get them back opening, clicking, purchasing, or whatever your conversion goal is, booking meetings, etc. So what I would say is that cleaning the list and dealing with unengaged contacts is something you should be doing all the time. However, if it's been months or year or more, then yes, you should probably check those sooner rather than later. You can use our free list checker if you don't have an account to spot check the list, see if there are problems, and then you'll know, like, okay, do I really need to run this? And I'm going to say if it's been more than 6 months, the answer is probably yes. In the old days, we used to say that you kept people on from the list from anywhere from 12 to 18 months before worrying about them being too unengaged. Then a few years ago at a show I was at, a speaker from at the time was CloudMark let it slip that, hey, people that have left their address can be recycled into a spam trap. And then Microsoft was doing this in as little as 6 months sometimes. And
Wow.
Google was somewhere around 9 months. And this is where the 180-day active piece of advice basically originated from in deliverability circles. It was like, if you went past that, you were getting into danger zones where you could now be mailing to spam traps. That gets you blacklisted. Spam traps and marking as spam are two different things, just to be clear for everyone.
Please talk about that too later. I'll remind you.
Yes. But for me, the big thing is I like to take a look at if I could figure out what the average subscriber lifespan is, right? And we're going to use some stats here because we like data. So I'm going to figure out what the average subscriber lifespan is. I'm going to get the median and the mean average. Then I'm going to go a standard deviation of that average before that. That means the majority of people that I'm going to lose are going to happen after that point. I want to reach out with re-engagement, not a month or two after I've already lost them, but slightly before I'm about to lose them. And then reach out to them, check in with them. Do you still want to get our messages? Provide feedback about our messages. If you have a preference center, draw their attention to that. Hey, we have weekly newsletters or a monthly wrap up. If you'd rather get the monthly wrap up, click that one, or check your preferences and make sure the type of content we're sending you is what you want to actually receive. Okay. But use those kind of re-engagement things. Don't wait till it's been months since the person last opened or clicked, because honestly, you're never going to get them back. This is why you see a lot of people do re-engagement and they're only winning back like 1 to 5%. If you can improve the timing, and you may need to test into what that timing is, but it's not unusual to be able to get that number to 10, 15, even 20% of win back when the thing is well optimized. But for most people, by the time that re-engagement email goes out, they've already lost that subscriber. If the person's already ignoring the last 5 emails in a row, they're probably not going to react to number 6 either. So it is a lot of using the data to figure out the timing of re-engagement to maximize the success of that.
That's a real good one. So that's something I've learned a lot from Luke, and it's harder to implement, but it's a good thing. Now we're going to do our little chat question thing. We've got one from Jeremy that I think is really interesting.
Okay.
are customer-based utilities, so unengaged is the norm. I can't assume that that unengaged really means all unengaged. So public jobs.
Okay, so there's two things that could be going on here. One, if they have a municipal type address, the municipality may be actually stopping it from firing out things like the open pixels. So you're not having a chance to be able to actually get those signals back. The other thing is that, or you might be the other way. It says they do everything, but I wouldn't be surprised if their system is doing that. So then I have to look for other markers for what means engaged. And you have to do this even if you're getting opens, if they're like a lot of bot opens, in which case I'm looking for, are they also doing stuff on the website? Did they ever fill out any forms? Do I have any click activity that looks like real click activity? Okay. Are they ever looking or doing anything with social? Anything I can use to confirm that they're still been active in the last probably 90 days. If I'm using these secondary signals, they probably honestly are still engaged. There's also plenty of people that, you know, don't. There's still people that block images, although Gmail serves it to everyone automatically.
Oops.
But those are different things. That
we got you back. Go ahead, Luke. I'm sorry. Oh no. I think we might have lost him again. So if Kyle's still there, he was talking about, Kyle asked for Luke's take on military. So if he comes back, we'll do that. And I thought I wanted to share something that Anne Marie put in here because I thought it was really interesting. So this is that whole emailing from the MBA. Oh, it's only going to show so much of her question. She mentions the MBA and military, and the other problem is the school districts, university, those type of government email addresses, and that there's so much turnover that they're actually a huge problem too. So I haven't been segmenting out those, and we did have a big teacher customer, and I think that's really interesting that we should have been doing those in text-based emails. So I learned something new every day. It has a lot to do with the industry your customer's in. So look at me not panicking. Okay, I'm going to look at your Q&As, and then I'm going to look at us. There's certain things I want Luke to answer. I'll do this one real quick because I've heard him answer this before. Should we even be using open rate as a key delivery metric anymore? Should we focus more on replies, clicks, bounces, and other engagement signals? He says to watch the trends on it, but you can't take it as a, yay, I rock. I've got great opens or anything like that, because there's so much weird stuff going on with opens, but the trend of it's really important. Is it stable and steady? Did it bump down, bump up? So but it's not like in HubSpot, you can have it on a sequence, send a task. If a customer opens an email, I would never do that. It means nothing. So anyways, I think it is not a good signal. Luke, are you there?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Would you answer this question? My answer was, I don't think open rate is
okay.
all
Hopefully
it's
you can all hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Is everyone loving this? I'm sad.
In answer to Valen's question, I would focus on yes, the open still matter because the ISPs still use that, even though, because they can measure it much more cleanly. They don't have like the bot opens and things. Google has very publicly and consistently said that they do not look at clicks to determine inbox placement.
I was wrong.
Bounces are still very important, but the number one thing to look for is spam complaints. As soon as you go over their 0.1% rate, they're going to start having adverse effect on your mail. If you go over the 0.3%, they're very likely to start junking your campaign on you.
Luke, I'm curious. Can you hear me? I don't think he can. let's see if I can.
Do you believe email providers will start flagging or marking emails as AI slop, like what we've seen with LinkedIn and others indicating content is AI produced? I do think that they will start to work this into the algorithms, and that will probably be a negative signal for them. Because it's not a real human user, and that's really what Google, Microsoft, and all the big three care about. So, short answer is yes, I think they will start doing that in the future.
Okay, so we're going to do that. You answer.
For me, it is probably for me, it's probably the rate at which people have had addresses going bad. They actually do go bad a lot faster than I thought they would, especially in the B2B area. It was kind of really eye-opening to start working with a lot of people across B2B senders and see, like, yeah, it really churns that much. So that was probably my most eye-opening step.
Okay, I'm going to give him another one. He is doing really well. This is an important one.
Yes, there is a quote right balance between the images and text in an email, and it's a different standard between different providers. There's definitely like content checking rules about this. Usually somewhere the right balance is somewhere between 40-60. So it could be 40% text, 60% images, or vice versa. But basically you want it to be a balance. That is the safest. However, there are plenty of people, such as every retailer that sends all image emails, right? Every retailer does this. They
Yes.
slice up the image, they link to different parts, but they do have text in there. They do have alt tags in there. They do have other text. One thing I would say about the text is if everything in my email is an image, then what is AI going to summarize when that little AI summary in the pre-header starts coming up, which is making its way into inboxes across the planet, right?
Yes.
It's going to summarize like your footer, your legalese, because that's the only text it has to read. So there's the balance there. Also, if there's ever anything where I have to like copy and paste or enter something, I want that to be in plain text so I can copy and paste it and enter it into a form. Put this in here to get our free white paper, or use this promo code when you check out, whatever it is. I want that to be real text that I can copy and paste. I have in fact designed all image emails all the way around, just having that block of text in there. You can't see my little hand motions, but they're there, trust me.
Okay.
And I don't think there is a real difference between the providers. I think they just look for that there's a mix of both. But heavily
Nice.
all images with no text, that could get you a 1/10 of a point. When you get to 5 points, that alone isn't going to be the thing that sends you to junk. But all these little rule infractions add up. When you get enough of them, that's when you run into the content filtering.
Okay, I'm going to give him another one. I'm convinced he cannot hear me. You go. You go, Luke.
What should you be A/B testing, and is our list big enough for it to matter? Pretty much every list is big enough to matter. If you don't have a large list where you're dealing with constraints of sample size, what I'd be doing is splitting the list in half. Do the test multiple times. The whole list ends up getting version A, and the whole list ends up getting version B. You split it. Half the people get A, half the people that get B. The next time I send, I reverse the two segments. So now I can add up all the lists so that I've basically done it on my whole universe. And then I'll be able to. And what should we be testing? I would say you should be testing things that show a lift, and are repeatable. It's not, did I write the best copy for this specific email? It's more like, hey, should I talk about this versus that? Should I do short form versus long form? Should I use percentage off offer versus dollar off offer? Something that you can repeat across tests to provide a real insight. The other thing I would test, timing is a big one. There is a right time for a best time for your specific audience, and it's not the best time for my audience or Rebecca's audience. We each have our own. But that's one that makes a big difference in B2B. It's probably in the workday, but I would also test, outside of that, there is a best day of the week for your particular audience. So those are some things to test. And then what should we use when we're testing those kind of things? Revenue per email or conversion rate is the thing you want to use as the key metric. Opens and clicks aren't really as great an indicator of conversion as we think they are. So if you can test using that or revenue per email, those are the two metrics I like to use because they actually move the needle for what I want.
So I can't ask you a question, can I, Luke? Because you can't hear me. So I'm curious what he would say revenue per email if he's going all the way out to the end of the pipeline. So I think that's interesting. So we have been, there's a question
for those interested, I'll put it in the chat. We used to have a site called OImetrics.com that I used to write for, and we did a lot on testing and email metrics. It's still alive.
Nice.
The parent company has since disbanded, but
nice.
Those are all still there. At least they were yesterday.
So that's cool. Thank you, Luke.
Sorry. I made
No
a typo. It's metrics with an E, OImetrics.com.
Oh, here we go. I'll do it again. Like that.
There you go. But yeah, we have, articles and webinars all about testing in there. There's a lot in there that I contributed to and others contributed to over the years.
So I am looking through your guys' questions to see anything else that we want to pick off in the list. I don't know if this is a real question. It can't be, so I'm not going to put it up there. And then Valon put this on the list before, but we've been talking about this the whole time. Best practices to protect domain, and if
best practices to protect your domain, and if possible, avoiding manual processes. Well, the first one is to use, a decent ESP so that you don't have to manually deal with things like bounces, spam complaints, those kind of things. The ESP, the setting system, should do that. I'll also point out that they should give you the common email metrics, including spam complaints. I've noticed that a lot of those, like, we'll call them outreach type platforms, as opposed to a more traditional, like MailChimp or HubSpot ESP, a lot of those don't report spam complaints. So then it becomes on you to go sign up for feedback loops and join things like Postmaster tools. Not that you shouldn't, you should, but now you got to monitor it and worry about it all the time. Another thing is use subdomains to split up different mail streams, so that if I have a mail stream like cold email where I'm prospecting, that's a lot riskier than opt-in mail. That what will happen is if I'm on the if I'm in the subdomain, you'll see reputation problems and maybe even blocking of the subdomain long before that bleeds into the other subdomains or your top level domain. What you don't want is to have all the mail coming from just the top level domain. So one bad outreach campaign with a bunch of spam complaints gets us blocked all over town, and now your boss can't email, your clients and your customers. So by using the subdomains, you protect the other things so that a problem in one type of mail stream doesn't take out everything else. And then, of course, if you use a subdomain and it's new, you'll want to warm that up, like we mentioned earlier.
So the whole topic, I'm going to talk just for a second on the topic of subdomains. It's we can talk to you more about that. It's a really good idea. You never want your CEO's emails to deliver to spam, and people have that problem all the time, and sales reps cause that problem sometimes with aggressive prospecting. Here you go for you, Luke. See if he catches it.
Okay, so realistically, how much does design and creative affect whether people open or click versus deliverability factors like reputation and authentication? If you have limited resources, what's the most highest impact changes you should make first? And this is from Rebecca. So, okay, so content and creative wise stuff is usually the last factor I look at. I'm not going to say it's totally not a factor, but if you have a problem with your sender reputation, that's going to be way more impactful on your ability to reach the inbox than whatever creative you're sending. If you have a great reputation, you could probably send anything. I once, when I was young, did a proof of that where I said, I said, I can prove that if you have a good reputation, it doesn't matter what you write. So I said, here, I'm going to send you a list of swear words in an email in the subject line in the body, and we'll see if that, and all those things that people say you can't write, like free in all caps, and see if that reaches your inbox. And of course it did. Because when you have a great reputation, you have a lot more leeway on what you can get away with creatively. The other thing is getting back into the authentication. Authentication is required for you to deliver. All the big guys require that. If you don't have SPF, DKIM, and DMARC set up, they will not accept your mail. So make sure that that's like table stakes.
I'm going to let Katarina's question sneak in, and I'm told I have to point this way. For me, Luke's the other way. So Luke, please answer. Does he see it? Do you see it? We're going to, Katarina, we're going to do that offline. We're at the end of time. Can you put the last poll in, Amanda? Let's see. Can anyone hear me? There we go. Here's the last poll. After today, what's the first thing you're going to check? And thank you for those of you who hung in there with this very unusual webinar. It's going to be a great Q&A, though. Oh, good for you. Yes, list hygiene. Yes. Yes. Don't worry about your email code design. Who cares? Good. Good. I think that's good. I think all three of those are good things to check. I'm not, Amanda, you could take the poll down now. And I don't even know that Luke's here anymore. So I want to say thank you guys. We're going to send the FAQs out to everybody. We're going to take everything. We're going to have Katarina, we're going to have him answer that last question there. I think it is really good. You had a nightmare situation, 2 million emails per day. I've never dealt with it. So you want somebody like Luke to answer that. So thank you guys very much. And happy Thursday. Good deal, Katarina. Happy Thursday. We appreciate all of you. This was very interesting. And we can do this. So I'm going to end the live right now, and bye. And we'll get you the content right away. Thank you. All of our active chatters. You made it a lot of fun. Bye-bye.